Hello, good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for joining us. You're watching World Today. Before we begin, here's a quick look at today's top stories. The US president announced the country would contribute $10 billion to the Board of Peace during its inaugural meeting on Thursday. Qatar, Saudi Arabia and the UAE each promised at least $1 billion. Meanwhile, Indonesia pledged up to 8,000 troops for an international stabilization force, while Egypt backed Trump's framework and said it would continue training Palestinian police and supporting early recovery efforts in Gaza. The US president said on Thursday that Iran must make a meaningful deal in negotiations with Washington in the next 10 days, or else bad things happen, as he deployed warships, fighter jets and other military hardware to the region. The warnings were issued days after the US and Iran held a second round of Omani-mediated talks, this time in Geneva, with the US seeking to prevent Iran over its nuclear program. The former Prince Andrew was arrested and held for hours by British police on Thursday on suspicion of misconduct in public office related to his links to Jeffrey Epstein. The Thames Valley Police Force said Andrew was released on Thursday evening, about 11 hours after he was detained at his home in eastern England. A South Korean court has found ex-President Yoon Suk-yeol guilty of masterminding an insurrection. The 65-year-old has been sentenced to life in prison over his botched attempt in December 2024 at imposing military rule. Yoon is already serving jail time for another conviction over the martial law order, and he still faces 2 more trials in relation to it. Sweden announced on Thursday a $1.42 billion military aid package for Ukraine that will include air defense, drones, long-range missiles and ammunition. The package also includes procurement of long-range artillery shells, various types of 40mm air defense ammunition and 12 cm grenade launcher ammunition, as well as an expansion of a cooperation project with Ukraine on long-range drones. Prime Minister Donald Tusk said on Thursday Poland can mine its border within 48 hours in the event of a threat after exiting the Ottawa Convention. As most of Russia's European neighbours, except Norway, moved to leave the treaty that bans the production and use of anti-personnel mines, Poland plans to deploy them as part of its East Shield project to secure its borders with Belarus and the Russian enclave of Kaliningrad. At least 4 people were killed and 17 others injured on Thursday following an explosion involving a liquefied gas truck that overturned in Renca, a northern district of the Chilean capital near a major highway and industrial area. According to police, authorities are investigating the cause of the incident, including potential speeding violations. The Czech Republic State Veterinary Administration announced on Thursday that over 230,000 hens will be culled at a farm east of Prague due to a bird flu outbreak that has also affected Prague Zoo. The infected birds carry the highly pathogenic H5N1 strain, which is potentially transmissible to humans, raising public health concerns. National women's alpine ski athlete Arwin Salihuddin continued to make history after emerging as the best Asian finisher in the women's slalom event at the 2026 Winter Olympics. More impressively, she was the top finisher among the 4 Asian representatives who completed the race, outperforming competitors from the Philippines, Taipei and Iran. And that was a quick snapshot of today's biggest news. Up next, the complete World Today Bulletin, bringing you the details that matter.
Bersihkan penapis penghawa dingin dan tetapkan 24 darjah Celsius untuk lebih jimat.
Welcome back. We begin with local news. Singapore Prime Minister Lawrence Wong will undertake a special visit to Malaysia later today, where he is scheduled to meet Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim. The Foreign Ministry said in a statement that both Prime Ministers are expected to discuss bilateral cooperation and issues of mutual interest, including the outcomes of the recent leaders' retreat on the 4th of December 2025. The statement added that the Premier will also return to Singapore on the same day. Singapore is Malaysia's neighbour and key partner in ASEAN with close and extensive relations in various fields. Singapore is Malaysia's second largest trading partner with total trade reaching 402.35 billion ringgit in 2025, an increase of 1.5% compared with 2024. And on to world news. US President Donald Trump announced billions of dollars in contributions for relief in the Gaza Strip at the inaugural meeting Thursday of the Board of Peace in Washington. He stated that the US is contributing $10 billion to the new body.
We're providing a model for how responsible sovereign nations can cooperate to take responsibility for confronting problems in their own regions. The Board of Peace is showing how a better future can be built starting right here in this room. And I want to let you know that the United States is going to make a contribution of $10 billion to the Board of Peace.
Additionally, the meeting brought together senior officials from the Middle East and Asia as Trump sought to showcase progress on what he calls a path toward a lasting settlement. During the event, speakers approved the 20-point plan and offered their assistance on its implementation. Indonesia pledged up to 8,000 troops from an international stabilization force, while Egypt backed Trump's framework and said it would continue training Palestinian police and supporting early recovery efforts in Gaza. Doctors Without Borders (MSF) in the Palestinian territory said that the charity body would continue working in Gaza for as long as possible, following an Israeli decision to end its activities there on the 1st of March. Its head, Felipe Ribeiro, admitted that the body is facing challenges including manpower, medical supplies, and the safety of its personnel in the enclave territory. In early February, Israel announced that it was terminating all the activities in Gaza by the medical charity after it failed to provide a list of its Palestinian staff. MSF has slammed the move as a pretext to obstruct aid. The body stressed that it did not provide the names of its Palestinian staff because Israeli authorities offered no assurances regarding their safety. The charity body also said it currently provides at least 20% of hospital beds in the territory and operates around 20 health centers. In 2025 alone, it carried out more than 800,000 medical consultations, treated more than 100,000 trauma cases, and assisted more than 10,000 infant deliveries. On a related note, UAE and convoys were seen crossing the Rafah border into the Gaza Strip on Thursday, on the first day of the holy month of Ramadan. Footage shows trucks loaded with relief supplies provided by the Emirati Red Crescent. Since the very start of the Gaza war and beyond, the UAE has continued to deliver humanitarian assistance to the territory. According to Emirati media reports, the total value of the aid provided has exceeded $2.8 billion. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump also announced at the Board of Peace session on Thursday that it would soon become clear whether a deal with Iran is possible, warning that Washington may be forced to escalate if negotiations fall short.
Carries very big bombs, and it went into Iran, and it totally decimated the nuclear potential. So now we may have to take it a step further, or we may not. Maybe we're going to make a deal. You're going to be finding out over the next probably 10 days.
Trump also said his envoys built a solid working relationship with Iranian representatives, and talks were progressing well.
They've had some very good meetings. They've had some very interesting meetings having to do with, as you know, Iran is a hotspot right now, and they're meeting, and they have a good relationship with the representatives of Iran, and, you know, good talks are being had. It's proven to be, over the years, not easy to make a meaningful deal with Iran. We have to make a meaningful deal.
The sides held a second round of talks in Geneva this week amid reports that the U.S. could launch strikes. The former Prince Andrew was arrested and held for hours by British police on Thursday on suspicion of misconduct in public office related to his links to Jeffrey Epstein, an extraordinary move in a country where authorities once sought to shield the royal family from embarrassment. It was the first time in nearly 4 centuries that a senior British royal was placed under arrest, and it underscored how deference to the monarchy has eroded in recent years. King Charles III, who was not told of the arrest in advance, released a statement saying that the law must take its course. Prince William and Catherine are understood to support his remarks. Andrew, 66, moved to the King's private estate in Norfolk after he was evicted from his long-time home near Windsor Castle earlier this month. Police previously said they were assessing reports that Andrew sent trade information to Epstein, a wealthy investor and convicted sex offender, in 2010, when the former prince was Britain's special envoy for international trade. The Thames Valley Police Force said Andrew was released on Thursday evening, about 11 hours after he was detained at his home in eastern England. An independent United Nations probe has revealed that mass killings of non-Arab communities when the Rapid Support Forces paramilitary group captured the Sudanese city of Al-Fashir bears hallmarks that point to genocide. The UN Independent International Fact-Finding Mission for Sudan said at the end of October last year that the RSF took over the city, which had been the last remaining stronghold of the Sudanese Armed Forces, SAF, in the Darfur region in the west of the country, with thousands of people killed and raped during 3 days of horror.
Violence against women and girls in Sudan has reached catastrophic levels. Demand for life-saving prevention and response services has surged by 350% since the conflict began.
The UN mission said it found evidence that the RSF carried out a pattern of coordinated and repeated targeting of individuals based on ethnicity, gender, and perceived political affiliation, including mass killings, rape, and torture, as well as the core elements of the crime of genocide under international law. Coming up next, South Korea's ex-president jailed for life over martial law attempt. A South Korean court ordered life in jail on Thursday for former President Yoon Suk-yeol after holding him guilty on charges of abuse of authority and masterminding an insurrection stemming from his December 2024 attempt to impose martial law. Prosecutors had sought the death penalty in the case, closely watched in a deeply divided country. It is the most consequential yet for the ousted leader, whose bid triggered a national political crisis and tested democratic resilience. In January, prosecutors had said Yoon's unconstitutional and illegal emergency martial law undermined the function of the National Assembly and the Election Commission, as well as destroying the liberal democratic constitutional order. Masterminding an insurrection carries a maximum sentence of the death penalty or life imprisonment under South Korean law. South Korea last handed down a death sentence in 2016, but has not executed anyone since 1997. Sweden announced on Thursday a $1.42 billion military aid package for Ukraine that will include air defense, drones, long-range missiles and ammunition. The largest item in the package is the procurement of newly manufactured short-range air defense equipment worth $474.1 million.
Så Sverige är också en av de länderna som stöttar Ukraina allra mest i alla internationella mätningar, både i kvantitet, men vill jag också säga att det svenska stödet håller väldigt hög kvalitet och de svenska plattformarna och systemen som vi har donerat till Ukraina har också levererat väldigt väl på slagfältet i den ukrainska.
2 days of peace talks in Geneva between Ukraine and Russia ended on Wednesday without a breakthrough. President Volodymyr Zelensky said he was dissatisfied with the outcome, while Washington reported meaningful progress. Separately on Thursday, Stockholm said its plans to issue guarantees to the World Bank for a 2.5 billion crown or $275.6 million loan to Ukraine. Prime Minister Donald Tusk said Poland can mine its border within 48 hours in the event of a threat after exiting the Ottawa Convention in Zielonka on Thursday. Now, he stressed that the country is in the process of finalizing the mine project within the East Shield, which is crucial to the security, territory and Poland's border. The comments came as Polish armaments group held its first open-to-media tests of unmanned weapon system on Thursday under the SAN program, Poland's project to develop integrated air, missile and counter-drone defenses. Poland began the process of withdrawing from the Ottawa Convention in August and will officially exit the treaty after a 6-month withdrawal period that ends today. The showcase featured a joint demonstration of unmanned aerial and ground platforms, including strike, reconnaissance, transport systems and the combat use of the SAN counter-drone system. Poland plans to deploy them as part of the East Shield project to secure its borders with Belarus and the Russian enclave of Kaliningrad. The navies of Mexico and El Salvador announced drug seizures in the Pacific Ocean in this week of more than 10 tons of cocaine, in contrast to deadly strikes by the U.S. government that just this week left 11 people dead on 3 boats suspected of carrying drugs in Latin American waters. The latest announcement came on Thursday when Mexico said it had seized nearly 4 tons of suspected drugs and detained 3 people from a semi-submersible craft 250 nautical miles south of the port of Manzanillo. Mexican Security Secretary Omar Garcia Harfuch said that the seizure from the sleek, low-riding boat with 3 visible motors brought the weekly total to nearly 10 tons, but he did not provide detail on the other seizures. On the same day, Salvadorian authorities gave access to the seized ship FMS Eagle, which had just arrived in the port of La Union. More than 200 wrapped bundles were lined up on the deck. On Sunday, El Salvador's Navy announced the largest drug seizure in the country's history of 6.6 tons of cocaine. The Navy had intercepted a 180-foot boat registered to Tanzania, where the Navy found 330 packages of cocaine hidden in the boat's ballast tanks. 10 men were arrested from Colombia, Nicaragua, Panama, and Ecuador. The Czech Republic State Veterinary Administration announced on Thursday that over 230,000 hens will be culled at a farm east of Prague due to bird flu outbreak that has also affected the Prague Zoo. The affected farm is located in the village of Kosicki, approximately 80 kilometers east of Prague. Safety zones will be established within a 10-kilometer radius of the farm, restricting poultry movement and banning bird exhibitions to prevent further spread. Last week, authorities had also detected bird flu at a duck farm in the area, which housed 6,800 birds. The infected birds carry the highly pathogenic H5N1 strain, which is potentially transmissible to humans, raising public health concerns. Prague Zoo, which breeds 1,700 birds across 265 species, has also been affected, with more than 30 birds dying from bird flu since the beginning of the year. Coming up in sports, FIFA president makes bold 2026 World Cup attendance claim despite widespread ticket prices criticism. Stay tuned.
Dari keindahan kota fashion Milano hinggalah ke puncak pergunungan Cortina yang memukau, sebuah pentas dunia telah tersedia menanti kehadiran jago-jago terhebat. Saksikan kehebatan atlet dunia dalam 16 jenis sukan yang mendebarkan. Bermula dari 7 hingga 23 Februari 2026. Semuanya di saluran sukan RTM dan penstrima langsung di RTM Klik. Sukan Olimpik musim sejuk Milano Cortina 2026 hanya di RTM.
Moving on to sports, national women's alpine ski athlete Arwin Salahuddin continued to make history after emerging as the best Asian finisher in the women's slalom event at the 2026 Winter Olympics. Competing at the Tofene Alpine Skiing Centre in Cortina d'Ampezzo, Italy, Arwin clocked a combined time of 1 minute 54.82 seconds. The 22-year-old finished 44th out of 53 skiers who successfully completed both runs. More impressively, Arwin was the top finisher among the 4 Asian representatives who completed the race, outperforming competitors from the Philippines, Taipei and Iran. This marks her second consecutive appearance at the Winter Olympics, further cementing her status as Malaysia's first female athlete to qualify for the prestigious games. President of the Olympic Council of Malaysia, Tan Sri Dr. Muhammad Norazar Zakaria, praised Arwin's achievement and described it as a proud moment for the nation. And that's it for World Today. Do join us again tomorrow afternoon at 12:30 p.m. on TV2 and saluran Berita RTM. Alternatively, you can stream us live on RTM Click's website and mobile app. Thank you for watching. I'm Mohana Priya. Salam Malaysia Madani.